Hello again, Star Trek Fleet Commanders. I'm your host, the Angry Rhino. Thank you for watching. Um, I'm going to talk about why I'm able to punch up so much. If you watched my video of me doing solo armadas and using the Defiant, failing an epic with the Defiant and using another ship, and why I'm a 46 able to take down 53 epics, I'm going to show you the crews I use and try to explain what the biggest part of being able to punch up is, and I think it's crews. Yes, there's a lot of research that goes into it. There's many research trees like Territory Tree and the Stellar Tree that provide hull boosts and shield boosts, which is key to armadas, obviously, and then the new armory and the subspace relay buildings that also add mitigation and shield health and hull health and all that goes into it too. But officers are big. New officers every month. This month they are solo Armada officers. So I will show you officers I use and if I really like these new officers. Let's take a look at here on the Pilum. 5 of 11, 6 of 11 con. And then you can see my crew stats over on the right. 5 of 11, her captain ability uses your officer health and puts that into mitigation. Let's actually look at it here. So because of synergy, adds 400%. Base is 200. You get 600% to the mitigation of your officer health. Why this crew is so good is because if you look at the stats for 6 of 11, you see how high his health is. And if you look at his officer ability, based on officer attack, his attack is also fairly high. And he takes your officer attack and increases your piercing stats, which is the counter of mitigation. So essentially drops the Armada's mitigation. And then con, very high attack and high health. So con pairs nicely with 5 of 11 and 6 of 11 and also adds in crit chance, which makes more damage. In my opinion, this is the best Armada crew because you get mitigation, piercing, crit chance, and always excitable extra loot. Who doesn't want extra loot from everything? Second best Armada crew, I think, is Cisco, Miles, and Gorkon. Cisco is very similar to 5, except it's higher, right? Essentially the same captain ability, except it's just, a higher percentage. And then instead of extra loot, he does crit chance, so it's essentially con and 5 with no loot in one officer. Then O'Brien gets you more shots. Gorkon for hull breach. So with Cisco's increased crit chance, that gives you more hull breach because that's Gorkon's ability. When you get a critical hit, you get a 90% chance of putting hull breach on. Now, you notice some pretty good number of these officers I'm using are high tiered. Some of them are slightly older, and therefore the sourcing is a little better. Also, time that I have made pulls has allowed me to get more shards. Instead of playing for like 3 months or 5 months or however, you just don't have the time to accumulate, credits and recruit tokens and all that stuff. Third crew, I think, is a little tricky. Because by the time you get to your third ship, right, a lot of your best officers are used already. So you're going to struggle to hit some crew bonuses. You're going to struggle to figure out who actually is worth anything on the third ship. I like a burner on the third ship, mostly because my first two ships don't have ship abilities that rely on burn. So I'm just using the background ability of burn, which is to take 1% of the Armada's hull. Or I guess technically it takes 1% of whatever hull, as long as it's burning. But if it's an Armada and you're punching up, like say I'm punching up to an Epic, which I think is about 300 million hull, so that would be 3 million around. So yeah, I might be able to use another officer, maybe boost, Data's crit chance, and I'll get to him in a minute, but it's not a whole lot, especially when I know if I burn and I have a high probability to burn, I'm going to get 1% of that Armada hull. Take a look at Data. 20% the crit chance. That is with an added 3% from Beverly. And then 60% to base piercings. To, what did it say? Non-player targets. So anybody that isn't a player, which is nice. It's not just Armadas. Beverly's probably the key here. Mitigation is one of the most important things. If I hadn't said that already, one of the most important things is mitigation or survivability in general. Now, if you're a lower, like say, you're not using G4 ships, Kirk Spock is probably a little better than going for mitigation because that shield regen and that the shields will take up 80% of the damage being done to you, so you don't need as much mitigation because it's all being absorbed by your shields. And essentially, you can read it here. It works a lot like Five and Cisco's ability, their captain ability, but this is her officer ability. So she can be on the side, doesn't have to be in the captain spot. But she does officer defense instead of health. And that's why I have Marcus and Kirk below decks. Crit chance, I went with Data because of crit chance because my crit damage is, I don't even know, I think it's close to 400%, so it's essentially like 4 shots. Riker is a possibility, but he does kind of take a while to get going. It does like 100%, I guess it would be 120% with Beverly, but, or I can just show you. But it's only, of your base. So what's your base damage? Like 50,000? Okay, so what? By round 10, you're 500,000. You only increase by 5. Like, okay, I mean, it's nice and all, but is your third ship going to last that long? So if your third ship only lasts 8 rounds. I don't even think my Katinga lasts that long against an Epic. I think it's killed in the 8th round. So, another option, like say you're still using a G3 for your third ship. Well, like I said, and I got Spock on the away mission because I don't use him anymore. You can use Kirk on Kirk is your captain. You wouldn't want to go with the next generation crew. I would say that if you are still using G3 for all of them, right? And I have gone in order, as you see, 5, then Cisco, then the crews I was just showing you on the Katinga. If you're still using G3, I would take the crew you saw I had on the Katinga, but use Kirk Spock, and then slot them in as number 1, and then slide 1 and 2 down, if that makes sense. Right? Kirk Spock would be the best, and then 5, and then Cisco. Let's take a look at the new officers. I am not very excited about them at all. I'm slightly pissed off. I feel like Deep Space Nine came around and it was like, oh my god, this is going to save the whole game. It's going to be so wonderful because everybody loves Deep Space Nine. So the evil overlords are going to be less evil and make it actually good. And it's I don't know, man. I don't think it's really that good. I'm still not over them deactivating Jayla like a bunch of jackasses. I don't know what kind of jackass thinks, oh, there's already an officer that allows the players to stomp a living mud hole in our precious Kardashian Armada, so let's just deactivate her. Whatever. Yeah, I'm still not over that. Bashir, you see his captain ability is crit damage. It's nice. His officer ability is crit chance. So essentially his officer ability, he's data as an officer ability. It's nice and all, but the problem I have is just they didn't make a good defense officer, right? You have Jadzia here. She has piercing, very high amounts of piercing. You can get a lot of piercing, right? So if you ran Jadzia as captain for high piercing and then Bashir on the side for high crit chance, that can be good, but you see her officer ability increases the damage, which also is very nice, but what does it matter what your damage is if you're not going to survive? Well, here's your survivability officer. I mean, you can't use Cisco. Cisco's already used. So, I mean, this is Blue Wharf. You remember the Next Generation cruise, and this is Blue Wharf. Nobody uses Blue Wharf because he's not good. Or Kumak. It's a lot like Kumak too, except Kumak needs burn, but it doesn't do enough. It doesn't do enough. You take a few shots and you're about done. So what does it matter how much damage you can do? What does it matter what your piercing is if you only get in like 5 shots on the Armada? What does that do? Nothing. Who cares? But yes, I mean they can be a viable option to use in solo Armada, but again, for the third crew, these cats are new officers. The sourcing is going to be very low, right? You got all these leaderboards. Oh, spend money for these auction leaderboards to get Jadzia. Well, she's not really that good. I mean, she's okay, but she'll be captaining my third ship. What the hell do I care about that? You think I'm going to pay money for a captain of my third ship? No. I'm good. I'm already taking down 53s. What the hell do I care about these dumbass officers? They're terrible. Maybe make the stupid officer be good at defense. Like, what the hell is... Like, this easily could have been like Beverly's ability. That's what this should have been. I mean, hell, they just took all the abilities from TNG and just said solo Armada only. That's all they did. Really. Why didn't they do that here? Oh, well, they did. You know what? You know who they took? Tasha Yar. This is Tasha Yar's officer ability. How good is that? Who the hell uses Tasha Yar on an Armada? Nobody. Why? Because she's trash. Oh my God. Potentially, if sourcing is high, they might be good. But with sourcing low, that means low tier. Look at these stats below. Now, it's a little different because they're not on a ship, but they're going to be nowhere near the stats for the officers I currently have, or that you currently have unless you just started playing the game. So, why do I care? I'll participate in the auction because I don't feel like not tiering anything up this month. Because I didn't do anything for Ducat because they didn't have any leaderboards for Ducat, so I didn't spend any materials. I didn't upgrade anything. I did a few researches. The ones that don't cost materials, but half of them cost materials. And then last month it was like, oh, those heroic leaderboards, easy. I don't know. Maybe it's just me and I'm a higher level. was so much easier. I had so much left over to spend. So I don't know what the hell's going on. So to sum up, officers, 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 officers. Officers are one of the probably the biggest reason for armadas. Biggest reason I am able to punch up for armadas. Even if your research or your buildings are low, if you have the officers high, like say, 5, because of her captain ability is plus the stats equals lots of mitigation, I'm not getting hit by big shots, right? So I can last several rounds, like 18 rounds, I guess. What did that epic last? That epic went like 17 rounds or something, right? I can go 17 rounds with my 2 best ships, and they're barely half dead, or whatever it was. I don't even remember. Watch the video. Yep, gotta promote myself. Nobody else is doing it yet. Yeah. One way, and you saw my daily claims video, is one way I get a lot of officers and a lot of transporter patterns is your faction. You're the faction store, get the faction recruit tokens. Get a lot of those, right? You're not always going to need to spend them on ships, so spend them on those recruit tokens. Then go to the recruit tab, do the recruits, get them maxed out, and then start banking transporter patterns, and then go after 6 of 11. Lorca's not in there. Who the hell else is in there? Nobody really good. 5 should be in there, but she's not. You asked for her, they don't care. The Overlord said, screw you. So I'll end my video with this. Screw you, Overlords. Your officers are trash. Comment below. Well, how do you like the officers this month? And what are your favorite officers for armadas? Like, subscribe so you can be notified when I drop a video. Shields up, Commanders.